All right, let's be real here for a second. As we all know, meetings, that can be a huge waste of time. If you were to actually do the calculation, an hour-long meeting can cost your business well over $1,000, which is not necessarily a waste of money, but if your meeting's not productive and nothing really happens, then yeah, it's not worth it. And the reality is a lot of the meetings that we hold are just not productive. People are showing up late. The meeting starts 20 minutes late. There's no set agenda. Nobody's prepped for the meeting. We're not actually solving or discussing issues on the meeting. And the list could really go on. And I'm sure you have plenty of other ideas that you would add to that, but I'm going to stop there. So I'd highly recommend over the next month or so that you have your team after every meeting rank the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10 and how effective and actually worth it was, and see what kind of feedback you get. I'm sure you may get some 4, 5s, and 6s, and nowhere near that 10 out of 10. So obviously the $1 million question here is, how can we make our meetings a 10 out of 10 across the board? Well, that's why you're obviously watching this video, and the Level 10 Meeting Agenda, a part of the EOS or Entrepreneurial Operating System framework, can help you run 10 times better meeting. You're going to solve issues. You're going to have an agenda, and you're going to stay on track. You'll hold the team accountable to their work, and your meetings are just going to be much more actionable. And aside from just the agenda, if you run these meetings in ClickUp, you're going to make your meetings way more productive. So let's dive in. All right, so let's dive into ClickUp here and talk about how we can run our L10 meetings inside of ClickUp. So as I mentioned before, the Level 10 L10 Meeting Agenda is a part of the EOS or Entrepreneurial Operating System framework. If you have no idea what that is or curious about it, or maybe have some idea and want to run it inside of ClickUp for your team, I highly recommend. There's going to be a video in the description below, as well as it's going to pop up in the top right, all about EOS built inside of ClickUp. So it's going to go over sort of the framework in ClickUp, why I recommend it, as well as how you can get it set up for your team. So you'll go through all of this that you're seeing over here with the VTO, which is your Vision Direction Organizer folder, with all these lists, as well as go into L10 as well. So that could be a helpful video to watch before this. But if you're just interested in seeing how you can run more productive meetings with the L10 format, then continue watching this video. So let's jump into sort of the basics of an L10 meeting. So one thing to note with these is they are going to be the same time. So if it's a Tuesday at 10 a.m., you have it the same time every single week, as well as in the same place. So for remote teams, you're just going to have the same Zoom link. It's going to be on everyone's sort of Google Calendar, Outlook Calendar, whatever that may be. They're going to know exactly what it is. It's going to be very simple. It's not going to be moving from a Tuesday to a Friday to a Thursday with different times, same place. It also typically runs for 90 minutes. Sometimes we shorten this up to 60 minutes, but it's really up to you on how much time you want to spend and how much you think you need for your team. It's going to be dependent on how large your team is, because if you have a ton of different team members in there, it might take longer in the IDS, which is the Identify, Discuss, and Solve, which we'll go over in a second. It might take more time for a larger team there. In addition, you got to decide how many teams need to have an L10 meeting. So traditionally, it's just for your leadership team that has an L10 every single week. But we like to, at ZenPalette, have one for our delivery team, our growth team, our operations, as well as leadership. So each department's going to get one of those. Our growth team is going to be sort of the sales and marketing side. Delivery is going to be your client services, operations, and then leadership is your leadership team there. So each team is going to have their own meeting agenda and framework that they're going to run through every single week. That just works well for us, and I recommend that too. Again, all dependent on sort of your team size, but that's great for smaller teams that are in sort of the 5 to even 50 range there. So that is the overall framework for the L10 meetings. The reason I love running these inside of ClickUp is because the ability to have a meeting agenda template sort of already built out, super easy to get one of these spun up for your next meeting and keep it all organized. I've seen so many teams sort of run this and they're using PowerPoint or Google Slides, or they have it in a Google Doc or something like that. ClickUp just organizes this way better, and it keeps everything together from all of your documents or your agendas, as well as sort of all your rocks, issues, and tasks that come out from these meetings. So as you can see here, I'll go over this and sort of your pre-meeting action items that you're going to need to do. But what I have here is the L10 meeting template. This is going to be in sort of my EOS folder right here, as you'll see, and I have a couple other things that we'll dive into. But here I have my L10 meeting template, and then I have my agenda. So I have my segue, which is going to be 5 minutes, my customer highlights, my scorecard review. Going down, we have our onboarding and offboarding highlights, our rock review, our IDS, which is a big part of this, our to-do lists, cascading messages down to meeting, rating, and feedback. So my agenda is all there, ready to go every single week. And if you want this, instead of building it from scratch, we do have a template, what you're seeing here, built directly in ClickUp that you can get on our website. So link will be in the description below. You can go to that, download this, and start working on it right away. So you don't have to build this from scratch. I'm gonna go ahead and get that, and you can even walk through it as we go through this video here. So this agenda, the things you need to do beforehand when you're going to go actually have the meeting, is very simple. So I have my L10 meeting template right here. I have kind of two options with this. I can either just duplicate this if I save sort of this template. So if someone edits this, it's going to be a little bit harder, but I can either duplicate this, or if I have this saved as an actual ClickUp template, I can save this as a template like that. It's going to save the doc template. And then when I want to go deploy it for my team, I can come here and I can go and apply a template just like that. I can find my doc template. If I had it built in there, that would make it easy for me to deploy it. But to be honest, I find it super helpful just to have the meeting template there. I take this, super easy, I duplicate it. And then once that's duplicated, I take this and then I go, and whenever my meeting is, let's say my meeting is going to be 10, 17, 23, then we're good to go. I have that all labeled. So another powerful part of ClickUp here is the ability to organize your documents. So as you can tell, when you have a bunch of these meetings, if I just keep them under this delivery team meeting sort of kind of a folder, but it's more of a parent doc, sub doc structure here. As I have a bunch of these, I'm basically just have a long list of all of my meeting agendas. It might be a little bit harder to work through. So if you want, you can always, as you see here, I have like Q3, I have all my meetings there, and I can do the same thing for Q4. So all you need to do is I can just create this doc. There's not going to be anything written there, but I do Q4. Let's move that under delivery team meeting. And then I can just nest this one under that. So it just makes it super easy to organize everything just like that. But the next step is I need to make sure from here I have everything assigned out in terms of prep for my team. So we utilize a level 10 meeting and to-dos list right here in my EOS folder, or my level 10 meeting folder. Essentially what that's going to do is it's going to sign out all these tasks for preparation for everyone. So the biggest things are, if I click on this task, I'm going to need to update my rocks, I'm going to need to update my scorecard, and I'm going to need to add issues. There'll also be a few additional tasks for specific people, which I'll show you in a second. Those are going to be the main ones for everyone to prepare for this L10. So when everyone needs to update their rocks, this is pretty simple. When they're updating their rocks, all they need to do is come to their rock list. They're going to see their rock status. We just need to say, is this on track or off track? So if you don't know about rocks are essentially your 90-day initiatives per person of what are like the biggest things that you need to work on. What are the biggest milestones that we need to hit as a company to achieve our mission or our vision that we have set out in front of us. And that's part of the EOS framework again. But there, all we're going to do is update this. Is it on track or off track? If we need to document any of that sort of in the ClickUp comments here to say like mine's 110 plus FTAs, which that's first time appointments, I can say, hey, we now have 90 FTAs, and so we're on track. So it's always helpful too to have some subtasks here in this to give me sort of those steps that I need to reach to actually know, hey, is this on track or off track? If I didn't hit that sort of subtask or that smaller milestone in here, then this would be off track. So that's what you're going to do for rocks. Pretty simple, just mark it on track or off track, and we're going to go over that in the meeting. The next one is going to be, let's go over the scorecard first, is updating the scorecard. So your scorecard is essentially, with the EOS framework, you're going to be setting a 1 year and 3 year and sort of 10-year visions and goals of what we're trying to accomplish. And so with this, the scorecard is a great way to hold us accountable as a department or as a leadership team of what are those metrics that we need to hit to actually achieve the goals that we've set for a company. So for the growth team, for like sales and marketing, that might be website traffic, that might be contacts created each week, that might be revenue pitched, that might be conversion rates, that might be booked FTAs, things like that. We'll have all of these metrics labeled out right here, as well as what the target is. And then each week, someone's going to own that, and you have to go and update yours. So before the meeting happens, I'm just going to go through and report on my website traffic, report on the contacts that were generated, report on our conversion rate, and it's just going to keep us accountable each week. So every single week, we're going to go over that, and we're going to have some conditional formatting in here that essentially says, hey, if I didn't meet the target, that's going to be red instead of green. And it just kind of helps me say, hey, is this on track or off track? So again, holding us all accountable to our scorecard, to our rocks as well, just to kind of see where we're at, where we're pacing towards our vision that we've set forth as a company. And the last part, and one of the biggest, is going to be your issues list. So this is where a lot of the meeting is actually going to take place. So each person every single week is going to add in issues. So an issue is essentially something that you won't need to talk about at this meeting. This could be a legit issue of maybe there's not quite a fire, but for the delivery team, this might be a big client issue that we're having that we need to all talk about and kind of figure out a solution to fix this. This might be, hey, as a marketing team, we're still not hitting our website traffic goals. What do we need to do? How can we solve this? So these are the big things that you're going to talk about as a company in all of these meetings. So you're going to identify what those issues are, and you're going to discuss them, and you're going to solve them during your meeting. That's what makes it super powerful with this L10 meeting agenda, which we'll go over that more in a second. But when people submit these, they're going to go and add their issue to this list. As you can see, I just have issue 7465, but they're going to go add the issue. They're going to add a description here, maybe a screenshot, maybe a video, whatever it may be, to give some context into what this is, what the issue is, just to give more sort of a context for the whole team. Because it can be great to go in discussion, and we'll walk through how that happens in a second, but just add context. It's always helpful for people to kind of have a description there of what's happening and what this issue actually is. In addition, they're going to just have their name as the issue submitter, and then the issue type is either going to be decision needed, info to share, or info needed. So kind of 3 different ways of documenting those issues, but they're going to put all of those in the issues list so that we can prepare for the meeting, and we'll be able to prioritize these on the actual meeting. So those are sort of the to-dos. In addition, one other thing for someone in your team is they are going to come through and they're actually going to add in right here the onboarding and offboarding. If I can scroll to it, the onboarding and offboarding highlights. So someone needs to just come through, and this is more for your delivery team as opposed to growth or operations, but someone's going to go through and just add in who are we onboarding this week, who's upcoming, and who's offboarding, just so everyone knows. And that can be super helpful if you have a CRM built inside of ClickUp. Again, I have a video on this. You'll see it in the top right, as well as in the description below, of how to build a CRM for your business inside of ClickUp. And this is going to be super easy for that, because then we're going to see if we keep this up to date, we're going to have Laverne's Pies, they're onboarding, Serenity by Jan, they're offboarding. I can easily go and I could take this, if I'm the one doing this task, I can come in, copy that to my clipboard, and then I'm going to go through and just add those to this. So it's very easy for us to go through it. So as a team, it makes it way easier for whoever is in charge of this, and just give visibility to everyone, because they can all see that in the deals list as well. So that's the overview of the to-dos. Now let's go through when you're actually running this meeting. So the way that this meeting is run is essentially, if you are the person that is leading it, you are going to share your screen. You're going to share exactly what I'm looking at right now. So if this is on Zoom, Google Hangouts, whatever it may be, I'm just going to jump into the meeting and I'm going to share my screen, and we're just going to work through the agenda. And it's super, super important that your team shows up on time, because we know that was the one reason I said in the beginning of this video, the meeting starts 20 minutes late. People show up directly at 10 if our meeting started at 10, or maybe they show up at 10:05. Then we just lose that 5 to 10 to 20 minutes of people coming in, making small talk. We don't actually do anything until 10:20, and then we only have 40 minutes left in the meeting. So we need to make sure everyone shows up at 9:55 if the meeting is at 10. So make sure everyone knows that. Show up early. Early is on time is late. So that's a big thing to note there. In addition, there's a few different roles you're going to have in this meeting. You're going to have you who is leading it. You're also going to have a timer. So someone needs to keep track of time. As you can see, I have these 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Someone's going to be keeping track of that. And if we go over, then, hey, we need to move on to the next thing. So they're going to have it. It's going to buzz after 5 minutes. They're just going to keep us on pace so we keep moving and don't get stuck on anything. In addition, you're also going to have someone that's documenting this. They're taking notes. As you can see, I have places to take notes here. So they're going to go through and add all those notes in so that we have them. So let's go through the agenda. So first off is going to be the segue. So obviously, you always want to make some small talk at the beginning of a meeting. Segue is a great way to do that. So it's not just all business. It's also getting to know the team and boosting up a little bit of that camaraderie there. So it's always helpful to start off with 5 minutes of everyone's going to go around, give a piece of personal good news, maybe something that happened over the weekend that went great, whatever it may be, and one piece of professional good news as well. So that'll be the segue. They're going to go through that, move on to the next. You can kind of popcorn each person through that. Again, that's 5 minutes. Then we move into the highlights section. So whether you're on the growth side of the business, highlighting some new wins or some new deals that were booked, whatever it may be on the delivery team, maybe it's some new customers that just had a great experience and maybe they could be a case study. We're going to highlight all of that here and just go through in 2 minutes. Everyone's going to go through, list them out. What are the highlights so that we get that all documented? And then the scorecard review. So as I mentioned, everyone's going to have these all filled out as a team before the meeting. And then we're just going to go through whoever is owning this. They're just going to say their metrics. So website traffic, our goal maybe is 2,000 a week. I'm just going to say 2,000 visitors, either on track or off track, whatever it may be. If it's above the target, on track, below the target, off track, we're just going to go through, run through this list so everyone knows where we're on track and where we're off track. And if there's any issues that come from the scorecard, then we're going to take those and we're going to add them to our issues list down here if we need to talk about it a little bit further. But don't go into each of these metrics and start talking too much about it. Just on track, off track, roll through this list. If there's an issue at the end of the scorecard, say, hey, are there any issues from this? And if there are, we're going to add them to the IDS list. So that's your scorecard, just running through that. And then we're going to also run through onboarding and offboarding highlights so that everyone knows. And if there's any issues, we'll add them to the IDS list and then keep moving through our agenda. Then we go into rock review. This is similar to the scorecard where everyone is just going to go through their rocks. So I'm going to have the screen shared and Andrew's going to say implementation to support close rate of 65%. If he's on track, he'll say on track. If he's not on track, he'll say off track. So we're just going to go through that again. At the end of it, if there's any issues, we'll add them to the issues list if we need to talk about anything a little bit more. So we're not going to take any of these and get off track on any of it. So if new playbook course launch is off track, I'm not going to be like, hey, Andrew, why is this so? We're just going to add that to the issues list and we're going to talk about it then. So that's your rock review. That's going to be 5 minutes. And now we get to the biggest part of this, which is IDS. Again, as I mentioned, all those different sections, we can add things to this. And we also have issues that everyone came prepared with to talk about. So when you go into issues, what I recommend is you come here. Sometimes for these, for rocks and scorecard, I just like to keep in this document. But for the issues list, I think it's helpful to go right here into this list. As you note here in the meeting notes, I'm able to embed different lists in this. Just to give you a quick tip, if you want to know how to do that, all I need to do is I can use my / commands inside of ClickUp. I can do embed, and then I can embed a list or any website if I want to. But if I want to embed a list, come here, browse, or new list, you'll see EOS demo. And then I just find the list that I need to go through, whether it's rocks, issues, scorecard, or the to-dos. Very easy to do. You just embed that and you're good to go. And that's how I get all of these lists in my document here. So now IDS, that's what we're talking about. Let's go here into the issues list. So with this, essentially what we're going to do is before we even start anything, we are going to come to the issues list and we're going to go and prioritize 3 different items that we want to talk about. So we're going to go through these and say, hey, what do people want to talk about? Everyone's going to have an opportunity to say, hey, I want to talk about issue number 5. So I'm going to say, hey, that's urgent. Then someone says, hey, I want to talk about issue number 6. That's urgent. Then I want to talk about issue number 4. That is also urgent. So we're going to start there. We're just going to do 3 and we're going to go through these one at a time. So what you do then after this is I'm going to pull up issue number 5. And as a team, we're just going to sit right here on this task and we're going to talk about it. We're going to let whoever submitted this, they're going to say, give the context into it. Why is it an issue? Things like that. They're going to talk about it, kind of go over the issue. Then we're going to open the floor and see if we can solve this. So sometimes solving it is, I can just close this. They know what they have to do. We're all good to go. Sometimes solving it is creating a task from this for something we then have to do. Oftentimes that's the case where an issue is just being solved by adding a to-do here to the to-dos list. But you're just going to go through each one of these. And as you solve them, you're going to come in. And if, let's say, issue number 5, we've talked about it, we've solved it, and we're going to go and we're going to close this. And I'd also just say, like, for this meeting, we're going to stay on time. So if you don't get to all these issues, that's completely fine. You can keep them in this list. They're going to live there until the next week. Just don't try to spend too much time on each of these issues. Solve them. But as you run out of time in this meeting, you're going to have about 40 minutes or 60 minutes, however long you take. Just don't spend too much time on these. Just continue to go through. As you run out of time, you run out of time. You're just going to save these issues for the next week. So that's your IDS. Again, keep going through those and solving them. And then after that, that's going to be most of the meeting. Another awesome part of having a CRM inside of ClickUp, as you can see, this active accounts with a health score of 3 or lower will automatically be added to the issues list. If you want, you can add an automation here from the CRM. So say someone, as our account managers go, and they need to update the health scores of these, So let's say poor Richard, this one was going well. Well, the account manager then says, hey, this is now in the yellow. This might be something that we need to talk about. They're also going to leave a weekly update right there. But I have an automation built here at the deals list. If we check it out real quick, if I go into my automations just like that, active automations, we'll see when the custom field changes from health score from any to yellow, we're going to add to our issues list. So essentially what that does now is this makes it very actionable, because now that poor Richard's CRO retainer, you'll see this is kind of a different issue. It's not something that's listed out like that. And you'll see here, it's just in multiple lists. So it's also in that deals list. So instead of me closing this out, after we talk about this, if we need to, or the reason that they are lowered their health score, I can just easily go and I can X this out, and this will just take it away from this list, and we've solved that issue. We're good to go. So that's another awesome automation you can build. And the reason it's super helpful to have a CRM inside of ClickUp to make all those health score adjustments super actionable, because then we're going to talk about it if we're a delivery team inside of this issues list. So that's IDS, again, a big part of your meetings there. And then the last things are just going to be reviewing your to-do list. So if I come here, if we have any issues or any to-dos after those issues, we'll make sure that they're added to the meeting and to-dos list right there. And the super powerful thing about ClickUp as well is that if I do have any tasks, I can write them down here just like that. So if there is a to-do, just like that, I can create a task directly from this. So I can go here and make sure it's added into the right place. I can assign it out to whoever. I can add my custom fields. I can add a time estimate. I can add a due date, and that is going to be all signed. And then that's going to live in this document. So it's linked to this document, but also living here in this to-do list. So it makes it super easy to make your meetings way more actionable that way. So after that is all done, we're going to talk about cascading messages, which for cascading messages, essentially, if there's anything from this meeting that we need to tell the rest of the company, we're going to make sure that's listed out here. And whoever needs to is assigned to say, hey, let's announce this to everyone. Or it could be one person that's kind of giving that update in Slack or whatever other tool you may use for communication. And then after cascading messages is going to be your meeting rating and feedback, which again is super important. At the end of the meeting, make sure everyone has a time to say, hey, this was 1 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, whatever it may be. Hopefully you're not getting 1 out of 10s, but everyone's just going to go through. You're going to do a 3, 2, 1, and everyone's just going to put their score up with their hands just like that. So 1 out of 10, make sure it's not people do it at different times, and that's going to make it so people are going to be influenced by other people. So just have everyone do their scale at one time and give their rating. That way no one is influenced by other people. And then if there are 8s, 9s, whatever, 7s, just have them give their feedback. So you're going to document all of that right there, how we can get better. So maybe someone showed up late, that might dock some points, or maybe we spent too long in a certain section. That way we can just continue to get better as time goes on. But that is your L10 meeting agenda. Again, makes it super powerful and way more effective meetings. Just having the agenda, taking this, duplicating it, and just making sure that all of your stuff is listed out here. You can walk through all of it and then spend a lot of time going through issues and solving them in the IDS list. So seriously, try this out. Whether you're an agency that operates on EOS or not, I'd highly recommend you run L10 meetings at your agency. And to help you get started, as I discussed in the video, we have an L10 meeting agenda template built directly inside of ClickUp that you can download for free. The link is going to be in the description below. And if you like this video, please go and hit subscribe. We're going to continue to post weekly videos to help you build a more productive, profitable, and healthy team inside of ClickUp. Or if you're ready to completely transform your operations with the guidance of ClickUp's first and highest rated solutions partner, go to zenpilot.com/call and book a call with one of our experts. At ZenPilot, we've helped close to 3,000 different agencies build more productive, profitable, and healthy teams by streamlining their operations in ClickUp. So whether you're trying to increase productivity, increase profits, improve team health, or just create a system that runs without you so that you can finally go on that well-deserved vacation, we are here to help. Taking your operations seriously will change your life, and I'm ready for you to experience this life-changing impact. I'm super excited for you to be our next agency success story. We'll see you again next time.
Can I make no more? I can't replace it. Trying hard just not to waste it. It's about time. Yeah, it's about time.